All right, let's get into this. This is a really fascinating personal story about a man who was basically caught between two completely different worlds. On one side, you've got the folklore of his childhood village, and on the other, the cold, hard rationalism of his science education. This is what happens when those two worlds smash into each other on a dark and stormy night.
And this is the kind of stuff he grew up with. I mean, can you imagine being a little kid and hearing the village elders talk about this like it was something they saw last Tuesday? They describe these parades of ghosts and witches with torches and music, and they'd always add this one super creepy detail. Their feet were turned completely backward. That's an image that's going to stick in your head for sure.
So to really understand what happens to him, we have to start where he did, with the village stories. This was a place where folklore wasn't just a fun tale, it was basically part of the instruction manual for life. So picture this place, Purani Basti. It's tiny. We're talking less than 300 people. And it sounds like something out of a spooky movie. It's an old military settlement, literally surrounded by ruins and graves. It's bordered by a stream, and it used to be totally cut off by a thick forest. You can just feel the ancient, eerie vibe. I mean, it's the perfect recipe for some seriously spooky stories, right? And what's so wild is how specific these stories were. It wasn't just, ooh, ghosts are scary. No. It was, see that specific jamun tree over there? A witch lives in it. Or the story about the holy man who trapped a bunch of spirits in a jug. They even knew where certain witches were buried by the stream, to keep them from coming back, of course. This stuff was just part of the local map, part of everyday life. But here's the thing. Even in a place like this, there were little pockets of doubt. You'd have a villager run in, all out of breath, yelling, I saw the ghosts and witches dancing last night. And our author's older brother would just calmly say, okay, show me. If you can show me, I'm sold. And, well, they never could. This was his first little taste of skepticism. Okay, so now we see the big shift. We're moving from a childhood full of fear to a young adulthood full of scientific rationalism. You can literally track his evolution here. As a kid, he was absolutely terrified by all these stories. Then, in school, that fear kind of morphed into wonder, It became fascinating. But by the time he got to college and started studying physics, well, that wonder turned into amusement. The ghost stories just became funny little tales from back home. So he lands on this very clear, very scientific conclusion. After all his studies in physics and philosophy, he decides that ghosts and spirits are, and I quote, the imagination or creation of the weak minds of ignorant people. A little harsh, maybe, but that was his new truth. Case closed.
But, and this is a really big but, you can know something in your head, right? But feeling it is a whole other story. He admitted that even with all his scientific certainty, when he had to walk home alone at night, past that same old graveyard, that deep childhood fear would still bubble up. He'd tell himself it was just a mental weakness, but it was still there.
And all of this, the village, the science, that little flicker of fear, it's all leading up to one single night. The night that would put all his beliefs to the test. Okay, let's paint the picture. It's one of those nights. You know the kind. A moonless April evening. The sky is just a blanket of black clouds, and a nasty wind is blowing. And he's out in it, trying to get a container of milk to his sick nephew in a little hut just outside the village. And as soon as he sets out, things just get worse and worse. The light drizzle turns into a proper downpour. The wind becomes a full-on gale. And pretty soon, the darkness is so absolute, he literally can't see the path in front of him. He is completely and totally lost. So he just stops. What do you even do in that situation? Try to push forward into nothing? Or turn around and try to find your way back? He's just stuck out there in the storm, totally vulnerable. And then, bam, out of the pitch black darkness, a pillar of fire just erupts. It's huge, as tall as a tree. And it's not just a fire. It's a swirling pillar of fire, like a tornado made of flames caught in the wind. I mean, this is not normal. So you can imagine what's going on in his head, right? The village kid part of his brain is screaming, ghosts! The graveyard is nearby. You're carrying milk. All the old superstitions. But the scientist part is just going, whoa, what is that? And in the end, curiosity wins out over fear. So he makes his decision. This is it. This is the moment. He literally thinks to himself, okay, today is the day I find out if all that stuff about ghosts and witches is real. And he takes a deep breath and starts walking right towards it. But this is where the story goes from just weird to something else entirely. As you gets close to the pillar of fire, it moves. It just backs away from him, still swirling, as if it knows he's coming. Then, poof, it's gone, only to reappear a little further away in the darkness. So he thinks, okay, I'll try again. He starts walking toward it, and the exact same thing happens. It moves away again. It's like it's playing a game with him, leading him on his crazy chase through the storm. He tries one last time, determined to figure out what he's looking at. But after this strange little dance, the fiery vortex just winks out of existence. And this time, it doesn't come back. He's left alone again in the complete and total darkness.
So, what do you do with that? The event itself is over, but the real mystery is just getting started. What happens when a man of science sees something that science just can't explain?
Well, he does eventually spot a lamp and gets his bearings. He gets the milk to his nephew. But an answer for what he saw that night, he never gets one. Science offered no explanation, and he couldn't bring himself to accept the one folklore offered. He was just stuck in the middle. While trying to find some kind of answer, he came across this quote from Sir Oliver Lodge, who was a pretty well-respected physicist. And Lodge basically said, look, there's stuff out there we can't explain yet. And when we finally figure it out, the truth is going to be way more amazing than any ghost story we could ever make up. And that really leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? Our author was left without an answer, just suspended there between two worlds. It makes you wonder, are there things in this world that are just beyond what we currently understand? And could the real truth behind them be far, far stranger than any fiction we could ever imagine?